So here's how I got into this whole thing. And when I was in high school, I was an avid radio ham, and made transmitters and receivers and built all this equipment just as a hobby. I graduated in 1957, went off to Stanford as a physics major, and I was going to be an electrical engineer. Well, it turns out that dealing with abstractions all day long just really didn't satisfy me, so I dropped out of college and went to work at the Stanford Microwave Laboratory for a couple of years as a technician because I had been a radio ham. I knew how to solder things together. And so about 1959, I got fascinated with flamenco guitar and started studying with a teacher there in Palo Alto. And a fellow flamenco student had his wife worked in a bookstore, and he was a kind of an armchair craftsman. And his wife found this book that she thought he would like to look at, and he passed it on to me. And it was this little guy right here, Make Your Own Spanish Guitar. And it was 32, 36 pages, something like that. It's a booklet, really. This was the entire sum total of information on making Spanish guitars available at the time. So I started my own guitar. I wanted a good guitar, and I thought, well, I can't afford one, so I'll just make one, right? By 1962, I'd really gotten serious about becoming a guitar maker. And I gave it 5 years then, and it then became pretty clear that I was going to have to do something else to make a living. So for the succeeding 25 years, I did one kind of woodwork and another. I did production woodworking and kitchen cabinet making and furniture making, and I taught woodworking for 3 years. And then in 1993, I decided that I was going to go back to my first love, making guitars. And I put together a couple of guitars from parts left over from my previous attempt at being a guitar maker in the early 60s. And one of them turned out spectacularly well. Everybody wanted one of those. And I took 8 orders off that guitar before I got realistic and thought, wait a minute, I'm not sure I can reproduce the wonderful sound in that particular guitar. About that time, John Gilbert, who's passed away now, was a classical guitar maker there in Woodside, and he was famous for his consistency. If you ordered a Gilbert, you got a Gilbert. It was the same as the one that your friend had that you played and liked. And John said that his secret for consistency was testing his wood. And so he had some procedures, and they sounded good to me.